it's George with 2015-16 Winter Outlook. This is my first video, so I'm gonna try to explain this the best I can. I base my forecast on a couple things. The NAO, this is known as the North Atlantic Oscillation. In the negative phase, it helps to form a ridge in the west, and it creates troughing in the east. And this means that there's warm water on the Greenland, and this also keeps the jet stream down more in the mid-latitudes. The positive phase is the opposite. We are in the positive phase currently, but it looks that in the heart of the winter, it will switch to negative. Arctic oscillation. This means that in the negative phase, the polar vortex will weaken, releasing polar air into the mid-latitudes. Positive is when the polar vortex stays stable, keeping air in the north. This means that in the negative phase, the polar vortex will have not as much of a wind force and will bring the air down. This is a case we've had the last couple winters. Positive, this is when the polar vortex, the wind circling around it, keep it stable so that air is not able to push down to the North Pole. Last year was actually an exception for those in the Northeast who had the window last year. We actually had a positive AO and positive NAO, so there can be many of those. But this year it looks like the AO as the NAO is positive and will stay positive through the end of the month, but then will go negative later in the winter. The PDO, the Pacific Decadal Oscillation, in the warm phase, this has the jet stream stay down, and this is why the Northeast has gone through brutal winters. The warm phase, they call this the blob. The cold phase, this is the opposite. So in the warm phase, which we're in now, there's a lot of warm water off the Gulf of Alaska, which I'll show you in a minute, and this shows and helps in the formation of a lot of that bad, brutal winter we've got, keeping that jet stream down and not letting it go too far up north over Alaska and in the north like in Canada. So that's another big thing. Right now it's positive, and this is a lot easier to forecast. This happens to run in cycles of 15 to 20 years, so it will definitely stay positive this year. This was one I should have probably put first, because it's one that's very rare and it's something that has probably the biggest effect. We have a strong El Nino in place. This is warming of ocean water off the coast of South America. This affects weather throughout the globe, especially in the winter time. When there's a strong El Nino, the northern U.S. sees a warm and dry winter, while the south and east coast see a cooler and wet winter. This will definitely help the drought in California. Now, it will alleviate it, but it won't really get rid of it, because you would need a couple winters like this to get rid of that drought that they've had there. The reason I see East Coast will see cooler and wetter is because there'll be more nor'easters because of this. Because the strong El Nino tends to have the polar jet and the subtropical jet converge and interact with one another, so that will create a lot of those ingredients to create those nor'easters. It's really hard at this point to tell whether they'll fall as rain or snow, but in the northern plains like Minnesota and Wisconsin, the Dakotas, Michigan, due to other reasons that I'll explain soon, the U.S. they will see a warmer and drier winter. In the south, it will be cooler and wet. This is because of the active subtropical jet, and it will be cool because of all that rain. It will keep the temperature down because there'll be very little sun. The Siberian snow cover. This is something that is being researched. It's worked the last couple of years. The guy who has figured it out and has used this has been almost precise. Last year he was the one that predicted the cold winter the last 2 years. This is this is the amount of snow cover in Siberia, especially in October. It happens to be above average this year. That means that the cold air will be in the polar vortex because of this, because of all of that air that's making it snow there. Now the question is, that's why we need the negative AO. If we get that negative AO, I have no doubt we'll have a really bad winter, especially later, all over the north, all over the south. Um, I live in the northeast, so I'm sometimes talking from that perspective. But you know, I mean, Boston will probably not for a while get what they got last year, but this does indicate that there is cold air up in that polar vortex. Does it plunge to the U.S. with a negative AO, or does the AO stay positive and keep it north? That's something that we'll have to see in my next winter outlook. The PNA, this is the Pacific North American, and its positive aids, it aids in forming the ridge in the west that I was talking about, and keeps the jet stream down the east. This coincides with the NAO in troughing. Um, right now it's strongly positive. It's really hard to tell where it will go at this point. Right now it looks positive. So right now I'm saying we're gonna have some ridging, especially later, and this is why I don't think the winter will be great in the east. The ocean temps. Right here. This is a central based El Nino right here. What this will do, the last two strong El Ninos, 1980, 283, 97, 98, those were the very strong El Ninos. Like the one we've had here, were more east based. The El Nino we had in 2009, 2010 was more central based, but it was a moderate El Nino, and we got really bad winters off that, so that's why I'm saying that there will be a different look even with this really strong El Nino. Now, this under Greenland here, that's the negative NAO. As you see, the negative NAO, there's warm water. This will keep the jet stream down around here, so that it would have to really go up to really get up there. So it will keep it down a little bit and keep some cold air to stay a little longer. Now here, at the Gulf of Alaska, sorry I went a little into the cold water here, but this is the positive PDO or the blob. This will keep that jet stream further down. This is preventing it, this thing over here, is preventing it from going in the north. So the jet stream, because of this, will almost look something like this. Also with the positive PNA, it should make the jet stream look very wavy. And then due to the fact that there's that warm water, it can't really go too far up, so that's why it looks like this. The subtropical jet, this is another big story here. It will almost look like this. It's further down, that's why California's gonna get relieved, and it's gonna meet around here, and that is why I think that they can get those nor'easters here. And also you see that water then and that cold water that's the ingredient you need for a nor'easter. So that's why I think the northeast will be a little cooler and a little wetter than average, the east coast. This is my official winter outlook. I wasn't able to really fit the words, so I have a little map here, a legend, to explain what each color means. And I have also explanations for each color. The dark red, this is the Pacific Northwest and Alaska. Well above average temps and less snow. Possible drought progression. This is due to the lower subtropical jet, which fuels that rain they get all the time. That's going to be further down. this is one of the reasons that California is getting spared and alleviating their drought there. Above average temps and slightly below average snow possibility event later in the season. This is the Midwest and the Northern Plains, the Dakotas, Michigan, Wisconsin, the places that get all that snow. This will be mainly due to the weak lake effect snow because of the lack of Arctic air and that positive AO we have right now. Earlier in the season, which is when they get that lake effect because of the warm water, and then the cold air will help with the lake effect. But this year we don't have that, so the temperatures will be a little more mild, a little more bearable. But I think there'll be snow later in the year. I think that by February you can get maybe a big possibility of a snow event of a foot or more. Um, but time will tell what happens for this area. The purple, this is like Missouri, Kansas, Oklahoma, Tennessee Valley. This this indicates a lot of that mixing in the ice. This is because that there it's very tends to be further south down there, so it's a little bit warmer. And even with that Arctic, it won't push it well enough to get a huge snowstorm. So a lot of it will fall as ice. You can still get some snow, but I'm ruling a little more towards mixing and ice. And you can get a huge ice storm possibility over here, over in that area. Green. This is wet and cooler than average. As I was talking about, there's a lower subtropical jet, and that's why Southern California is going to alleviate their drought down there. And all over the south, Texas, the north, the lower, the southwest, like that desert area is going to be a little wetter and cooler. Florida will be wetter and cooler as well. This is due to lack of sun because of all the storms they're gonna get. And there'll be a lot of cloud cover this winter for them, so they'll be slightly below average there. I mean, it will be cooler. I mean, I don't think it would be 10 degrees below average. It'd be more like 2 or 3 degrees below average there. Not much of anything to really worry about there. But you can get some major events in terms of rain there, and even see a snow event or two. Light blue. This is DC area and all those places. That what means it'll be rainy and snow, ice, the works. Anyone who loves the winter, go right to that area. The dark blue is coastal New England and New York City, Long Island. This shows a slightly below average temperature, slightly above average snow. This is because of the subtropical jet and the polar jet interacting. This will create ingredients for the nor'easters. There'll be some mixing events because it is on the coast, and you'll get some mixing there. The orange is like upstate. It'll be above average, and with the temperatures mainly due to the El Nino, with the way the jet stream's positioned with that, and slightly below average snow because of the weak lake effect, especially earlier in the season. There's still a possibility of a snow event. I mean, they get a lot of snow anyway, so I mean they'll still get a good amount of snow. White, it's just an average winter. It's what you would typically see in that area. This is the explanation. If you want to read it, I just really explained it to you right here. So this is, I guess you can read this. Overall, I think the winter will be interesting. We have a strong El Nino. This is the big one, almost one of the biggest on record. We've never had the teleconnection like the PNA or NEO in these phases with this El Nino, so let's see what happens. This is my final outlook. Will be December 14th. Feel free to tell me anything in the comment section I should improve or explain better, or any questions you may have. Thank you.